Heyo, Stoic here. Hey, welcome to the Bedrock Guide. In this tutorial, we're going to be making a raid farm. And yes, you saw it. There is a conveyor. And watch how fast it is. Already in the Trident killer. Yep. This thing is about 30% faster than all the other single village raid farms that are out there. We're able to get 2,600 items per hour on average. And that excludes the saddles. Yeah, we're not picking them up. We're not even taking them. So we don't even have to sort them. Isn't that awesome? Out of that 2,600, we're getting an average of 1,300 emeralds per hour. So again, it's 30% faster, which means it's 30% more loot coming your way. I'm going to give a big shout out to Z-Tech for helping me on this farm, troubleshooting all the goodies and all the hard parts for it. So let's get into this thing. Oh, and the materials will be in the description, so let's get started. First things first is find a pillager outpost. Here it is. Yep. We are going to want to find one that's in a relatively flat area. That will work to our advantage because at this scenario, we are not going to need to put any leaves down on the ground. We will do a little work up top, but we're not going to put any leaves down on the ground or really anything below the top platform. So that works out great. If you've got a mountaintop or lots of big trees nearby, chop them down. Make sure that you are not creating new spawn locations for this raid farm. The other thing we're going to be looking for is the direction of this pillager outpost. And it looks pretty symmetrical, right? But there is a door on one of the sides. And in this case, this door is on the north side and we're going in the -Z direction. That is the north side. And I learned this from Yodolf, and he's got a video that came out over 3 years ago, and that discusses how these spawning points arrive. And I'll briefly capture this, but I'll also put a link in the description and a card up top, so you can take a look at that. And let's see here. We'll go ahead and use Foxy No Tails Armor Stand. I'll put a link in the description for that too. Lots of great content generators out there. So let's see. You can see that this pillager outpost is clearly within this chunk, but it's also got some banners that are hanging off to the side, which means that this is actually a pillager outpost as well, that will have a spawn location. And this has actually got banners hanging off the side as well. So this one has it. But for some reason, we also have one over here in this fourth quadrant, and we can see, maybe I can turn this over one more time and we can get a little bit more. You can see that this one, and this one will all have a spawning location up about this height on each of these farms. So you can probably see we got a lot of pillagers running around, and it's probably because we've got so many different pillager spawn locations. So I'll get rid of that. So why is this important? Why do we want to know that there's 4 locations in this particular one? Well, the more bad omen you can get consistently, the higher the chance it is you'll have another raid more consecutively in your AFK time. So you're not going to wait for a bad omen to arrive and get hit in your inventory, and then you can start your next raid. There is a 30-second cooldown after a raid, and even if you get a bad omen from killing a pillager captain, then it will just disappear unless it's after 30 seconds of the raid. So having as many chances of getting a pillager captain killed right after a completed and after the cooldown is complete, then you'll have a better chance of having more raids in an hour for your farm. So for this, we're only going to use one. You can increase your chances because in this particular design, we're going to be able to get about 17.7 raids per hour. That's the theoretical max. That's if we got bad omen right after we get that cooldown completed. But it's going to be about 14 raids, which is still about 30% more than all the other farms that are out there for single village farms. So I'll show you how to do that. But let's go ahead and find each of these locations, and we're only going to use one here in the future. You've probably seen this before. You can easily clear out. If there's any goodies in there, get your goodies. You can get some panes and just put them in between each one of these logs that are up here, and you'll make this kind of square. But go ahead and do that, and we'll get to that next step. We placed in all of our panes here in the middle of this platform, and I moved 25 blocks away to give this an opportunity to spawn in some monsters. And you can see that we are already pulling in, well, a whole bunch of these guys. So this is our spawn point. So the next thing we want to really figure out is which way is north. And as I said earlier, the door on this side is on this side, but you can also look at your coordinates. So that's negative z direction. And you can also look at the sun to see which way it's rising or setting. So we want to find the northwest corner that these are spawning on. To do that, we know that that is north. And so then that must be west. So the northwest corner of that block is where they spawn. Right there. Right there. So if they're in their group of 4 blocks, you'll pick the southeast corner. But they're actually spawning on, or sorry, the southeast block. But it's on the northwest corner of that block. So we've got that one right there. The other thing we can do now is we can find the other 4 locations. Now, you don't have to use these, but you can for this farm. And all you have to do, once you have that spot located, you can just come out 2 blocks there. And then we'll come over to this side as well. So that is the south side. And the east side will have it. So you put 2 blocks right there in line with our group. And then you guessed it, it's going to be kind of in line with these other ones. So we'll just kind of put some more blocks in just like that to fill in that corner. And if you go ahead and put a little trap in, you should be able to capture these guys as well. Okay, so I moved totally far away and now we're looking at, yep, captured one right there. And we're going to capture a couple others in a second. But we did line this up perfectly, so you're able to find all of these locations. So if you do have multiple locations in your farm or your pillager outpost, then you're going to want to be able to either put them all in a trident killer so you get the maximum amount of bad omen, or you need to slab it up so that, or put leaves on it. In this case, we would have used leaves, so no spawns can be on top of it. So we know that that is right here. That one looks good. I know it's going to be right here, and the last one's going to be right there. So it's kind of in alignment, and you can kind of see it right here that we've got all of these in a nice square. So for this farm, we're not going to be using these other spawn locations. I'm going to grab some leaves. We know that they're there, and you might not have them for all of these. Now, the east and west directions are going to be 2 locations, so you can go around the perimeter and find which ones those are. But this is the big one that I wanted to share with you, but I'm going to go ahead and put leaves right there. So the next thing we're going to do, once we get these locations kind of figured out, we can get rid of the blocks, these glass panes, to concentrate on our single location. The panes are gone. Let's get rid of the entire platform, everything above the platform. That includes these fence and these walls and everything up above. And then we'll go ahead and put in our first trident killer. All right, so we shaved off the top and we actually kept these spawn locations leaved off. And one thing we want to do right away, and we'll get to this guy right up here in a second, is find that same location down below and go ahead and put in some leaves right where those are going to be. And if you don't know exactly where they are, just kind of hit an area with leaves so that we don't have additional spawn points down below. We want to make sure we're increasing our chances of them just spawning where we want them. So what we can do is find what we think is the spawn points all the way around here. Just like that. So what I'm learning is that the pillagers will try to find a spawnable location. And if they can't find one, they'll try to find the highest spawnable location. So if I were to put a block here, they would actually try to spawn down here in this room, and they will. And so we want to make sure we're not going to spawn things anywhere else except for in that spot. Moving back to these guys, we can actually find a spawn location 4 blocks above this top platform, which is pretty cool, which helps raise our whole farm up that many more blocks. And because of that, we don't have to worry about having to, we're further away from the ground, and that will keep all of our spawns up top in the farm where we want them. Let's get our first Trident killer in place, and you should be able to duplicate this with enough space to get all of this figured out. But on the northwest side, so that's west, we're going to make this thing flow to the west. We're going to 1, 2, 3 blocks down, come out with a 2x3. From here, we're going to go up another 3 blocks on that side and put this piston on top. We're going to put a temporary block right there, and then we're going to have a glass block in this location. This is going to help prevent the pillagers from knocking our trident out of the correct spot. From here, we can break this block that's underneath. That's where our water stream is going to go. But now we can go around. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to go all the way around this outside until we get to this red pillar. Bring up the glass right into this location. So we've got this thing surrounded. That's looking pretty good. Grab your button, come underneath your piston, and place in button right there. Because what we're going to do next is grab our water bucket and just put them in right here. You can see where things are just going to flow towards our button, and then things are going to drop onto a cactus that we'll have down below. Because honestly, I don't want to collect the arrows and the banners because they just really add up, and it's just more stuff you don't ever use. So we're going to get rid of them. If you do want to keep them for some reason, go ahead and put a different Trident killer in, but this one's going to get rid of that loot so you don't have to worry about it. From here, we need to put in our clock. So come over to the side and bring out 2 observers like this. And we're going to face on this side. Probably need to get right next to your piston and place in your second observer so you make a clock. To turn this thing on and off, just stand to the side over here on the north side and put in a sticky piston. And we're going to have a kill switch right there to push this observer out of the way. And when we're ready, we can turn it right back on. From here, let's break this glass and let this thing just kind of go into this location. You can see they just kind of flow underneath this glass block, and they're going to be right where our Trident is going to be here in a second. So once I get out of this mess, we can come back up, place a glass block right 2 blocks above the pink block that we've got shown. And from here, we can just put in leaves, and you can put them in this fashion. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cover that part up, and then any glass that you have on top, cover that up as well, because those are valid spawn points for our raid down below. Come to the outside, put it on top of your lever, put it on top of your piston, your future piston position, or your observer, and then you can grab your Trident. So I'll go grab mine, and what you want to do is kind of throw it into the side here, and this should be enough to go up and down. And the water is going to force our bad guys right in there. And if I step away just a little bit here, this side's nice because you can kind of get a good view. So to get rid of the loot that we're building up right here, we want to go ahead and put in a cactus. And to do that, you just grab some sand, 1 cactus. And make sure you got something for this sand to be on top of. And make sure there's nothing else around. And our loot will just fall right on top of it. If you put another one, you can't really put another one on anywhere else. So everything will just flow right there. If you want to control a little bit better, put some glass so then it just falls right there. At this point, we need to go all the way up. So if you're planning on using multiple locations, what we can do is just kind of go up by 41 blocks from, we'll go at 1, 2, 3. And this kind of puts us in the center of each one of these spawn locations. It's pretty close. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go up 41 blocks from the top of this platform. Now, every pillager outpost is going to be a little different. This one's at Y80. Some are going to be up in the mountains, so they could be higher. The terrain could be different, but we're going to go up 41 blocks. So I'll let you count, and I'll meet you at the top. We made it 41 blocks up, and I'll just go ahead and show you the spawn locations then. Using this armor stand and banner, you can see that we're still going to spawn each one of these locations for our farm. And yep, this is looking pretty good. So if you wanted to have more than one of these, they'll all fit in this orientation, and just make sure they're going to the west. So this is going to be our AFK position. Break that top one and put some leaves on. This will invalidate any raid possibilities on the spot. I'm going to be using a lot of leaves at this point. So from here, we're going to go to the north, and we're going to go we're going to start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, just for a little bit more room to work. So and then we're going to go at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just like that. Fill this in so that you have a platform to work from. Moving back to your AFK position, you can kind of see I kept the north arrow low because I didn't want anything to spawn out there if it's really high, closer to our farm. But from here, we're going to put in our storage system. So we're going to work our way up in order to make sure this thing works the way we want it. From this location, we can come in 2 blocks, and yep, this is going to work out just fine. So we're going to be catty corner there. And this is enough storage for 1 hour. So we're going to put in 12 chests, 12 double chests, and I haven't filled that up all the way. We do have lots of hoppers for this, but this will be our storage system. right there. From this side, go to the north side of these chests, put in our hoppers just like that. Come over to this west side and kind of put some leaves up here. And we're just going to put in hoppers facing the west direction. And the reason behind that is if you wanted to expand, you could. The next thing we want to do is just come to the back side one more time. And you can see that we've got kind of this L shape, J shape. This is where we're going to collect our loot from our Trident killer. Grab your rails and put 1, 2, 3 in just like that. Break these so that you have just a curved rail, and then you can place in your minecart right in this location. If you don't want things moving too much, go ahead and break that. It'll spin around. It'll still hit these locations and work just fine. I recommend grabbing some leaves now and putting them on top of those 2 hoppers, and we're going to go all the way around this just to contain our minecart with hopper so it doesn't drop out. And also, now that we're here, let's go ahead and put leaves on top of each one of our chests, and that way we're kind of spawn-proofing those locations. You can see that you can still open your chests because this is a transparent block. You can force that lid open, which I think is kind of silly. All right, from here, come on up, and we're going to put in our Trident killer. So along the outside, we'll go with some colors here, and then so this will end up just being a 4x4 platform, and you can see this is going to be our kill chamber right there. Except guess what? We can't use copper or any solid block. That was concrete. But anyways, put in leaves right here. We don't want anything spawning down here. We want it spawning up in our farm. If a Ravager spawns down here, well, it all screws up. So this platform needs to be leaves. From here, we can put in our Trident killer. So our AFK position is right down there. So we want to have an opening that kind of flows out there. So our first piston will be on the west side of the southwest side. We're going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we can fill this in right there with a slab so that it's going to our AFK position. This is to get the XP that kind of builds up and lets it flow into where we're at. From here, we can fill the rest of this in. I'll put in solid blocks in those locations. Grab a stair and put it right there, kind of flowing in this direction. We want to take advantage of the impaling effect of a trident, so we can put a little bit of water in this when we're ready. Enter that, grab droppers, put them in the corners all the way around, and then grab your observers, and we're going to put them on top of the slab so that the dot is facing the piston. Go all the way around just like this. If you've placed your observer on top of your piston, you've done it incorrectly. And now we can put in some solid blocks all the way around. So put them in those locations. From here, we want to grab our water bucket, waterlog that stair so that the water is flowing in this direction. It'll get stopped by this slab, but we'll be able to collect the XP when we're going AFK. You can also throw in our trident. Don't want to forget that. If you got a couple of them, throw them in. That can help your rates just a little bit. But if you're having trouble finding them, don't worry about it. From here, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3 blocks on all sides of this trident killer. All right, for this next part, make sure you know which way is north. And that, in this case, that way is north. And so we're going to turn around and go south. And we're going to find the side that has the north, kind of the southwest side of this opening. So go ahead and break 2 of the blocks. And I'm going to put in 1 block right here, just so I know that I need to do this later. And it'll be a different color, and maybe you can do it too to make sure it stands out. But we're going to go a total of 12 blocks in that direction to the south. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to come back here to the start, and we're going to kind of fill this in and use a big platform. I'm using different colored blocks so you can see which ones are different when we need to get underneath them. But fill this in. Once you're done with that, come back down to your AFK position. Maybe you need to pillar up or use some scaffolding, but we're going to power on each one of these blocks that I've got lined up. So the center ones, if you're just using all the same cobblestone, and these are the ones that are going to have our rails. Come back up to the top, and I'm going to show you why this is important, why we need to be going to the north. So when we put these rails in, they're going to connect in an orientation that just won't work because, well, they're going to move. And we don't want that. So what we have to do is put in a second set of rails. And we'll put that in a little bit. And once you break the temporary ones, then you can see that they'll keep their orientation. Well, we're going to drop in some minecarts here, and you can see that whenever you drop in a mob, they're going to be thrown to the north. Now, if you start blocking different sides of the minecart, it'll be thrown differently. In this case, we're going to keep it simple and use its primary throw, which is to the north. So when we build this platform out to the south, we know that we're going to be throwing our mobs towards our Trident killer. So if you placed any minecarts, go ahead and get rid of them, but go ahead and throw on all of your rails and then put in temporary ones so you start changing the orientation of them. Just like that. Break your temporary ones and we should be good for right now. Don't put any minecarts down because they're just going to get in the way while we're working. So we're just going to move on to our slime blocks. All right, for this next part, I'm just going to be using different colored blocks. So we're going to go from our main tower here. We're going to go 1, 2, and then this third one, not the fourth one, but the third one. And we're going to have to come out one block and put it down right there. What we can do from here is we can put in another solid block. This location kind of fill out our platform. Grab your block and we're going to go to the south side, 1, 2, and then up. Then 1, 2, then up. So now we're going to have a nice tripwire string here in a little bit. So grab your hooks, put them in those locations. We're not going to put our string in just yet. We're going to grab a temporary block and put it on both sides like that. And then we're going to place in some terracotta. And let's see if I can get the orientation right. Nope. Let's see. Is that one it? Yep. We're just going to have fun with this one. We're going to put it in just like this. Put in your glazed terracotta on both sides of this platform. I might have found one of the only few uses of this magenta glazed terracotta just to show arrows. Oh, that's so silly. All right, come back up on top here. We're going to, okay, if that's the orientate, we're going to put it on top of our tripwire, and then we're going to, because our slime is going to be in this location, and we're going to go ahead and put it on this side as well, so that we're going up one, and then we're right there. Because our slime can grab onto blocks and then push them and pull them, and we just don't want that. Glazed terracotta is an exception. It will not pull and push blocks of glazed terracotta. So we're going to have to use that for this farm. So right now, we've kind of got a nice landing pad. You guys are going this way. Grab a temporary block again, come over to the side, put it right there, and we'll put another one on this side as well. Grab your sticky piston and put it in that orientation and that orientation. These two single pistons on either side will control 12 slime blocks. And that's a perfect length because now we have 60 spawn points for our mobs. So yeah, this is looking pretty good so far. Grab your slime blocks and put them on here just like that. So how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 all the way down. And we're going to want to do the same thing over here with our glazed terracotta because we don't want to grabbing onto any of our glass, and we're going to put in a little bit later. So I'm just going to continue the theme and put them in just like this. Now, just to show you what's going to happen, carefully place in one string in each of these positions. If you try to spam it, you might put one up top, and that thing will get pushed around. So we don't want that. So get rid of anything that's on top. You can see now that our tripwire is connected, we can come off to the side. We're going to come over 1, 2, then we're going to branch up just like that till we can get up into that position. On this side, because we're just outside of this column, we can come out 1, 2, and then go right into the side. So grab some redstone. We're going to not put it on the top for this one, but we're going to put it on the side, and it'll go right into the side of that piston. And we're going to come over to this side and put it over here. I'll go ahead and put this string on this side really quick, and then we can kind of see this bouncy house. So anytime a mob spawns in, they're going to trigger this string, and then they're going to get thrown right into our minecarts. Sometimes they'll get pushed all the way through. Sometimes they'll get pushed all the way back and forth, which is actually kind of funny. Before we go too much further, we're going to stay outside of our main column for a Trident killer. And we're going to break one string and put in a pane glass right there, glass pane. And then we can put our string right back. Amazingly, XP orbs have mass, and they can trigger the string in this trap. So when we kill Ravagers, their XP can now flow down into this little hole and make their way to us instead of holding this thing open. So if I were to throw this glass right there, or not glass, terracotta, you can see that it's triggering the string. And so XP acts like a 2D item. So gotta have this little pain here. What a pain. All right, at this point, go ahead and throw your terracotta on top again. And we're gonna, well, we don't need it all the way down, but we want to put it on top of our slime blocks so that we can have only the slime moving and not other blocks. From here, grab your glass and you can start on the south side. You can fill in this little gap and come all the way across and all the way just like that. Bring these little protrusions up, and we're going to go up 2 blocks all the way around. So we can come over to the north side now, and we're going to bring this glass up as well on top of that terracotta. Bring it all the way up. We might have to break 1 or 2 in a little bit, but I'm pretty confident we'll be in a good spot. From here, we can grab some more glass, put it on top of your sticky piston while you're doing this, because Ravagers could get to that. You're going to come up here, and I might not have mentioned it during this, but there are only 2 blocks that prevent raid spawns, and those are leaves and scaffolding. And we have a nice platform for things to spawn on, which is perfect. This is exactly where we want them to spawn, but we don't want them to spawn anywhere else, because if they spawn up here, well, they're just going to hang out, and that goes against our rates. So let's just fill this in, and we're going to cover a lot of things up. We already did a bunch of stuff down there. Let's cover up our redstone over here, and we'll cover up this redstone over here. All right, at this point, go ahead and grab some solid blocks, and we're going to kind of fill in that spot. We're not going to fill in anything to here because these are spawn points for us. And now we're going to grab some scaffolding. So grab some scaffolding and place it in these locations. We want to make sure that that's there. This is a spawn point where we need to hold on to some carts, and, well, they won't spawn on scaffolding, so that's good news for us. They're going to still stay in our little chamber here. That in place, we can put a little bit more in this configuration. Make sure you maintain that scaffolding right there, because otherwise these things will drop down in, and we don't want that to happen. Grab some white glass panes, or just glass panes. What a pain. And this next Trident killer is by 2, 3, 5, 7. And of course, we've got a lot of hidden content creators out there trying to bring them to light. This is fantastic. This is a relog proof trapdoor killer that we're going to be building. So check, I'll have a link in the description and put a card up right now so that you can go check out his channel, subscribe to him. He's got great stuff that comes out all the time. And yeah, let's get moving on this one. But the orientation of this is very important. All right, make sure you're facing south when you place trapdoors on top of these 2 glass panes. Make sure there are no blocks out to the side that this glass pane can connect to. You can see how it kind of curves. We don't want that to happen. We want it to stay flat like that. So we can put one on either side just like this. If you put anything over here, well, it's going to likely make the farm fail based off of the things that 2357 has told us. Once we've done that, you can come over here, grab some doors, and place them on either side. It looks silly, but that's what we got to do. Since these glass panes are in here, we're going to grab some rails, and we're going to just put one in right now, and then we're going to grab our minecart. I think I got one right there. Throw it in, and then push it. Break the rail. Put in a minecart just the same way over here. And now we can fill this in. In fact, I want to go with glass at this point from here on out. So break those 2, and we'll put the doors back in. I just want to make sure that the Ravagers are not obstructed by any solid blocks when they're passing through her. They're glitching through. We can also see what's going on, which is actually kind of fun. So let's grab those doors again and put them back in. So the doors are here just in case you want to be able to get in here and pick up your Tridents. Maybe one fell and it really shouldn't. Maybe you just didn't throw it the right way on here based off of his video. So do your best to make sure your Tridents go in the correct spot. But right now, we're going to close those 2, and we're going to bridge out temporarily and grab some observers. The observers are going to be here for our clock. So come out to the north side of this farm and put in 2 temporary blocks. In this case, I'm using observers, and then another 2 observers. Come over here, and guess what? We're going to have a clock. And it's going to keep these things going. So I don't want to listen to him. So let's go ahead and get the next step in. So what we can do is put in 1, 2, 3 solid blocks just like that. And put another one like that. Grab a sticky piston and come down below. So we're looking up at that. And what we're going to do is grab them, pull them up. And if you don't want to listen to it, you can put in a lever real quick. And then they'll stay that way. But we're going to push them down when we're ready. All right, back at our AFK position, going to go east a little bit. And we're just going to make a little step ladder all the way up here. Just some steps till we get pretty close to our dropper. And yep, this is looking good. Extend it just past our farm and then go up till you're right next to your dropper. Put in a solid block in that location. At this point, you might want to scaffold out and then go up or just kind of bridge up as you're going. But we're going to make a redstone torch ladder. But to do this, you can see that we're going to put a lever right there. I got a temporary one right there. And this thing is going to control the lower one and the upper one. So let's go ahead and put our ladder in. We're going to have a total of 5 torches all the way up. So when you're counting, you can do that. And the last one should turn off when turn the lower one off. So this one is off up here. And then all we have to do is branch over with some redstone, just like that. So we have negated a couple of torches in order to make that work. And now when this one's on, these will be on. Pretty sweet. All right, I turned that off and you can start to see we're starting to build up this area pretty tall. Get on this side of the observer, come on up and do the same thing on this side of that observer and just bring it up until you're even with these pistons and all the way across, just like this. And yeah, we're looking really good now. Now, here's part of the tricky part that we're going to be working on together, and make sure you grab your slabs. Before we put the slabs in, we're going to put in a solid block right over top of our minecarts. Now, come back over to this side, and we're going to open up these trapdoors, and we're going to kind of step back a little bit and throw in our Trident, and try to get it right in the middle. That one looks like a really good one. Then close it. We're going to come over to this side, and we're going to throw it right there in the middle. That one's not quite in the middle, not as close as I want it to be. That one's looking a lot better. And we're going to throw it there, and we can close those. So you'll notice, and we're going to test this out, and we're going to turn that on, and you'll see that it's not working. Well, I'm going to log out. We're going to turn this off. Always turn this Trident farm off, or this Trident killer off. I'm going to log out and come back in, and these little Tridents are going to glitch up on top of the trap doors. And this is why it's relog proof, because it always goes back into the position you want. So I'll be right back. All right, you can see that they're up a little bit higher. Now, if we go back down here, turn them on, you can see now they're shifting just like they should for a Trident killer. So now we're looking really good. So that is working. I'm going to turn that off because it is loud. And now we can move on to our next step. But make sure you're not going to step on these things because, well, you just have to throw them again and relog. So we got these solid blocks in place. Now what we want to do is have some slabs right at the top of those doors. And then we're going to have some slabs all the way up here. So it's going to be one full block and then top slab there. So top slabs even with these doors. So if you ever needed to do maintenance, you could still get in and grab the Trident, but you shouldn't have to. Let's grab some of our leaves, and we're just going to fill this in just like that. Come all the way across. We're going to put leaves on everything up here because we don't want things spawning up here. If you don't like this, you can add a little bit more just to make it look a little bit nicer. Although who doesn't like all these colors? And then so everything from above should just look like leaves. Like even this lever down here, go ahead and throw something on there just to make sure nothing else spawns. But we're so close to being done. So let's grab some water. So we're going to have to put water in a couple spots. And the first spot is going to be inside here. So let's go ahead and we can use the door to do this. And we're going to put it right on the observer. Don't put it on the trap door. Don't put it on the door. Put it right on the observer. Right there and there. We're water logging our Tridents, so that way we get the impaling effect. and then we can close that door. We can also then come to the inside here, and we can just maybe block up a little bit and find our slabs. These slabs right here, and then grab our button, come out one and one. That way we block the water streams, not mess up all of our carts. We can put in water there and there, and this water stream is actually gonna get the riders off of the Ravagers and push them down into our Trident killer, which is great. It was such a cool find. It was such a cool find. The last thing we want to do is grab some buckets of snow, powdered snow, and put them right here. I know it can be hard to get, but you want to have this, otherwise you're going to lose loot. Because sometimes when, sometimes these guys will jump off, or maybe the loot, sometimes loot can pop up and you just don't want it to go anywhere else. So I put it in because it's nice. It also helps keep them from moving. Maybe it does a little bit of damage to them as well. So we're trying to maximize the speed of our kills. But guess what? Pretty sure we're done here. This looks like a solid block, but we do have a button here which will prevent the raids from spawning right there. And we're pretty close. So let's see. What else do we need? The best thing ever, minecarts. Let's grab them. So before we put these minecarts in, put a button right here. This tells the minecart there's something for the mob to go onto. If it's not there, then your mobs will just sit right here and go back and forth or play with the string. So we want to make sure we've got a button in that position. Go ahead and grab your minecarts, and actually let's put in our carpet. Let's carpet this up all the way down. The carpet is nice because it is nice and low, and the minecarts can still grab whatever is being spawned. And it also allows us to keep our minecarts from moving. See, I'm pushing into it, it's not going anywhere. So you can put all of these in just like that. And now I think we're pretty much ready for a raid. Let's do some last checks. Make sure you always check around looking for any spots that could spawn your raids. This one kind of looks like one, but we do have a door there, so it's not a valid spot. And yeah, this is looking really good. All right. Things are looking good. Now we need a village. We need a village all the way up here. And to do that, we need to place a bed up here. Get rid of the those temporary blocks down below, and then cover it with leaves. And you got to have a villager. And there's a couple ways you can do it. You can bring them in from a village that's nearby. That's actually like 200 blocks away. So you might want to do like some nether portals, set up another portal over there, and then just take them only 60 blocks in the nether. And then you can actually put your portal way up here. And that's what I like to do. But unfortunately, I'm not going to show you in this video because it does take a little bit of time. And there are plenty of videos out there on transporting villagers. And I might do it in the future in a video just dedicated to that. But you want to make sure you get them all the way up here into a position. You can even bring them in a boat or a minecart all the way up, or use scaffolding and then put them in a boat and then put a lead on it and drag them all the way up. There's plenty of ways to do it, but we can get our villager right inside here. And now our raid is going to start because I had the effect when I started. So we're going to take a look right here. We're just going to go ahead and let it go. This first one, they're going to spawn in, and sometimes you get these kind of stragglers, but they always pathfind into either the string or into the minecarts. We can turn this on, which will slaughter them down here, which will send all of our loot in here. And we only need hoppers because we just don't get that much loot overall. And if you wanted to keep things moving, go ahead and come down here as well. Turn on this trapdoor Trident killer, or this piston trapdoor killer. And we come back up here to our position. You can use some scaffolding to get right up here, no problem. And then we can go AFK. While that's kind of working in the background, I'll wait for that Ravager spawn. What we can do is put a little platform. We don't have, do we have stuff above us? We do, but it's always nice to kind of put in a little platform or a little phantom haven so nothing can get you. But let's come all the way up here, and you can see that our here goes our Ravager. It just gets slaughtered by the trapdoor Trident killer instead of lava, because lava takes way longer. And yeah, this thing is working perfect. All right, one more shout out to Z-Tech for all of his help and tireless hours of troubleshooting with me on this one. It was a really big help, kept me motivated. But yeah, there they go. They'll eventually get in there, but this farm is super fast. I hope you enjoy it as much as I had fun making it over the last several weeks. But yeah, thanks again for joining me on the Bedrock Guide. Bye-bye.